Welcome, in front of me is a VIVO T1 Pro, and today I'll show you a couple tweaks and the tricks you can do on this device. So let's get started by opening up settings, and in here I'm going to begin with the dynamic effects. I think that's how it's called. If I can find it, there we go, dynamic effects. So in here we have a slew of different options that I can mess around with. Weirdly enough, if you're looking for always on display, it's also here, but it has like a weird name. So ambient light effect, which is basically always on display. We have also on screen display, so displays the dynamic effects for notifications or calls. I believe this is something similar to what Samsung has on their devices by default. When you get a notification and you're not using your device, it just pops up with like a notification even though the display is off. So that's a pretty nice option if that is what I think it is. Then we have home screen transition animations. So here we have different animations, so you can mess around with those. This will increase the speed of things like, for instance, this minimization effect, the zooming in, and so on. So you can mess around with this right here. We have three different options. We have efficient, medium, and comfortable. Now if I select them, yep, it automatically shows you how fast it will go. So this is obviously pretty slow. This is the fastest one, and the medium is the default one. You can also completely turn off animations if you want to, and then your apps will automatically pop into your view of your screen. So that's also okay option to utilize, which is what I will select. Now there's also home screen entering animation, so this is a different one. It's also an animation and works the same way, but it looks like the device automatically switches between them. So if I swapped the other one, it automatically set this one to none, I assume, because by default there should be an animation. We have things like fingerprint icon animation, because we do have under the display fingerprint sensor. You can change the animation of that sensor, how it like looks. It's just a cosmetic change. I don't have any kind of screen lock, so I guess that won't really apply to me. Obviously you have several additional things in here, so go through them. If you want to customize some of these things, obviously change them. They only affect your device primarily in terms of like how it looks like. There is very little in terms of the actual behavior, apart from maybe the notification, like I mentioned, always on display. But it's primarily all cosmetic wise. Now moving on to display section, display and brightness. We have the dark mode right here, or dark theme as it's called. So you can turn on the dark mode on this device by switching this on, or you can also tap on the text and select it so it automatically swaps between these two modes, either from sunset to sunrise or on a custom schedule. So if you want to utilize that, you can do that right here, and it's a pretty neat option because during the daytime you probably want your display in light mode, but during the nighttime dark mode might be a little bit more suitable. Now moving on a little bit further down the line, we have status bar, and this right here allows you to change, instead of having the icons shown in a status bar, you can have it numbers or nothing. Now I personally like numbers. It just gives you a nice clean number of how many notifications you have once you pull down your notification tray. If you remove it, it disappears. I probably wouldn't recommend having none because that gives you like no info about it, but the numbers are pretty nice. You just see how many you have, you can pull it down and check them out. And additionally, if you want to also see your battery percentage, you can enable it right here. I personally like it inside of the battery, so this is not something that I would be looking for, but if you just want to have the information about it, that's where you can turn it on. And moving on to two last options, we have the refresh rate. We have the smart switch, which is a pretty nice option to have. We also have the 60 or 90. Now these two, 60 and 90, are permanent ones. So if you select 60, it's going to always run at 60, and the 90 obviously always at 90, while the smart switch will switch between those two. I believe it won't go anywhere lower than 60, unfortunately, which would be really nice to have, but I don't think that is the case right here. But in any case, by having it on smart switch, you basically get best of both worlds. So you have a nice smooth animation when you're scrolling up and down with a 90 Hertz, and whenever your display is just stationary, like it is for me right now, it will switch to 60. And because of that switching that is being done automatically, it will preserve a little bit more of your battery life than opposed to like it running permanently at 90. Now, the reason I bring this up is because there are people that are interested in preserving as much battery life as possible, and in this case you can select the permanent 60, and this will always run at 60 Hertz, so the display will be refreshed less often and therefore also consume less of your battery, but you won't have this nice like smoothness when you're scrolling up and down. But in terms of battery life, it will be better. Now for people that want high refresh rate, just stick with the smart one. 90 has basically no benefit over the smart switch, and smart switch gives you a little bit more battery life. And moving on to the last one is the visual enhancement, and this just enhances the image. As you can see, you have a side-by-side, so this is the enhanced one, this is the non-enhanced one. Now it is a little bit of a dumb kind of way to show this because it's not like you can move this around, and they did put the image, the more vibrant part of the image that is enhanced additionally on the right side, which kind of takes away from this, like how this affects your image. But in general, apart from, well, very non-descriptive information, what I think it does is just add a little bit more saturation, makes the image a little bit more vibrant, increases the shadow details, so just changes the contrast levels, and the image does look a little bit better. So if that is something that you're interested in, you can toggle it on in here. Now this only works for video players. As you can see, once you enable it, it shows you all the video players that it detects. Now there is a chance that if you have some kind of third-party video player, it might not support it, but it supports the typical things like YouTube and Netflix and a built-in video player that comes with the device, so you can utilize that if you want to. So there we go. Now that being said, hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching.